Hello everyone, I'm Keen947, aka Wolfkeen. And well, as you may know, I'm still doing Season 2 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic when it comes to my vlogs. Currently, I'm going to be working on Baby Cakes and the last roundup, but I want to do a special video real quick. The thing is that I've been seeing a lot of reviews for the Equestria Games, like a ton of reviews for the Equestria Games. And there seems to be two arguments in this front. There seems to be two arguments with the Equestria Games. One of the arguments, which was made by Tommy Oliver and Digibro, about this was building up the Equestria Games, and we didn't get to see the games, and it led to a lot of what it could have been and why, why doing what they did was a bad idea. And then you had the other side of the argument done by Commander Firebrand and Mysterious Mr. Enter, basically saying, did you really want to see the games? Because that would be a boring episode, and honestly, this episode that we got was actually pretty dang good, if you really think about it. So I'm going to talk on both sides of the argument. So I'm going to give my thoughts on both sides of the argument, because I have a bunch to say about either side. First, let's talk about the side of the Equestria Games. There are positives and negatives to both sides. So let me talk about the Equestria Games first. Yes, the fact that they've hyped up the Equestria Games since the end of Season 3 till about now, and then what they did, yeah, that's misleading in more ways than one. That's the same exact thing like the Dead Island trailer. Think about it. Look at the Dead Island trailer. You thought that this was going to be a game that would make you get the fields, and look what Dead Island became. A zombie survivor open world beat 'em up in more ways than one. So the advertisement with Dead Island, thanks to that trailer, was completely bullcrap compared to the actual game. That's what happened with the Equestria Games. They hyped up these Equestria Games to be like, we're going to see the games, and when it actually happened, we didn't get it. So yeah, I can understand a lot of people's feelings towards this episode, saying like, they lied to us! They cheated to us! They didn't give us what we wanted! And yeah, that is a pretty potent argument, because considering that they hyped it up with not only 4 episodes, I believe, because I have to count them all. I know it's Games Ponies Played, Just for Sidekicks, Flight to the Finish, Rainbow Falls. Yeah, 4 episodes. So they gave us 4 episodes to hype up the Equestria Games. Not to mention they had multiple pictures set up for the Equestria Games that are being posted on Twitter, Facebook, and otherwise. And then when the episode finally aired and we didn't get the Equestria Games, everybody flipped. Like a good chunk of people flipped out because they felt that this episode was atrocious for the fact that it was false advertising. And I could fully admit, yes, that is the truth. Like, when I went to see the Equestria Games, I felt like I got lied to. Because you hype up the Equestria Games so vividly since Season 3, with all these pictures and stuff like that, and then when we actually get there, you don't get it. Like, to take an example from Golden Fox, it's like you went to a restaurant and you decided to take a meal out of recommendation from the waiter. You waited about an hour for that meal, only for you to find out that it was just a regular old tuna sandwich. Not only would you feel like you were lied to, it would bug you, and you would lose a lot of respect with that restaurant. So yeah, this episode, I've lost quite a bit of respect with the writers of MLP. Not a lot, but a good number where they false advertised this episode. Because even the name of the episode is Equestria Games, and we didn't get that. So yeah, I can understand that side of the argument in more ways than one. Because if you're going to hype the Equestria Games, if you're going to promote the Equestria Games, then give us what you're promoting. That's what a lot of games, that's a flaw a lot of games fall under. They hype up something and then they don't give it to us. You want more examples? Dead Island trailer, Watch Dogs, and other stuff like that. Now let's talk about the other side of the argument. The episode that they gave us, and why the Equestria Games is not a good idea. Now the argument that Mysterious Mr. Enter and Commander Firebrand have made is the idea of it would have been a bad idea if they did the Equestria Games as an episode by themselves. And really think about it, guys. Their argument is pretty potent. Because think about it. What did Pinkie Pie say at one point of the episode? That Ponyville got 37 medals. Which means that, I did the math, even if you were to split every team up into teams of 3, that's 11 medals. That's still 11 events. That's 11 events. Think about it. And these events aren't short. Like, they're not short events that you would expect them to end in like 10 or 20 seconds. These could probably last minute to 2 minutes in more ways than one, depending on the event. Like sprinting, the ice archery, the relay race, and other stuff. So we don't know about the other events that were in the games. The only ones that we saw was the air sprinting, the relay, the ice archery. That's really about all we saw. We don't know any of the other events. Like, what I'm guessing is that the Equestria Games is based off the Winter Olympics, especially with the design of it. So I'm guessing it's based off the Winter Olympics, which means there could have been other events like ice skating and stuff like that. That would seem potent considering how far north the Crystal Empire is. But the argument that they make is that this is not a good idea to give us just the games. Because what's worse? The fact that they gave us a Spike episode, which is actually a pretty damn good Spike episode, or the fact that they would give us the games. Because, think about it. People want to see the games. I fully understand this. There's one problem, however. How would this involve the story? Because think about it. I've seen so many arguments. Alright, let me say this. 37 medals. Close to 11 to about 20 events. Rainbow Dash is only in one of these events. And Fluttershy is in the same event as Rainbow Dash. Remember the rule from Rainbow Falls. You can only compete in one event at a time. So, that would mean that Rainbow Dash can't compete in the other events. So, and even if you were to include members of the main 6, like, I can understand Applejack being like a sprinting area, and maybe Pinkie Pie and ice skating, but I struggle to think about where would you put Rarity, and Twilight can't compete. She's a princess. So that's only 4 events that they can get into, because remember, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy are in one together. Then you have Applejack, Pinkie Pie, and Rarity. So that's only 4 events that you would actually get to see out of the possible 20. And another thing is that these games did not last just an afternoon or something like that. Think about it. They packed a lot of clothing, and they even, you know, insinuated that the Equestria Games has been going on for a while. The Olympics last about a week, so I'm guessing that the Equestria Games probably lasted as long. Do you really want to go through a week's worth of games that none of the main characters are in throughout the entirety of the episode? Like, really? That's the argument everyone makes, because the only way that this story would have worked is that they gave a bunch of screen time to background ponies. And I'm sorry to say, but that wouldn't work. If you really think about it, that wouldn't work in more ways than one. Giving screen time to background ponies just so they can, you know, show off the games. Here's the thing. And the other thing is that the other way that people said the games wouldn't have worked is that, yeah, Rainbow Dash narrated over every event. Do we really want to go through Rainbow Dash's narration with every single event? That would get boring and mundane after time, if you really think about it. And I've seen a couple of people come up with an argument like, oh, this could have been a Rainbow Dash episode. How? That would still mean we wouldn't get the games. So no matter what your argument, here's my statement that I'm going to take with me to the grave. There was no way they could show the games without making this into a 2- and 3-parter. And even if they were to show us the games, what are they going to show us? This show is about our main characters, the main 6. Unless they're willing to give screen time to background ponies or develop a new pony exclusively for the Equestria Games as a one-shot, then there's no way that this premise of the Equestria Games is going to work. And that's just being honest, and that's what argument that Commander Firebrand and Mysterious Mr. Enter makes, because this is a show about slice-of-life stories and personal stories, not fueling some crazy person's headcanon and fantasy. And plus, I don't even want to see the Equestria Games. I watch My Little Pony for the characters, not for the action, not for the adventure, not for the, you know, not for all of this other stuff. I watch it for the characters, the humor, and the animation. Get me? Like, adding this stuff, like adding action, having adventure, and other stuff like that, that's a plus. But it's not a necessity for me to watch this show. What's necessity is the characters being good, the animation being good, and the stories being good. So honestly, guys, I see both sides of the argument. I understand people feeling cheated because this was the Equestria Games and they didn't give us the Equestria Games. And I can understand this side of the argument about the Equestria Games would have been worse off if they just showed us the game since Rainbow Dash was only in one event. both sides are very potent because there really is no clear-cut winner. But then again, both sides don't really have a counter towards each other. The counter that they have is that the fact that Rainbow Dash was only in one event, and it would have made the Equestria Games worse considering we would have only seen that one event and Rainbow Dash commentating. Then we have this side of the argument where they keep saying they should have still showed us the game if they were going to promote the games like this. So really, there's no real winner in this argument. Like, there's no real winner in this argument. It's based on perception. So really, guys, I'm going to say it like this. I'm not going to pick a side on this area because I'm going to leave that for my Equestria Games vlog, but I'm going to say this right here, right now. Neither side is wrong. I'm sorry to say, but neither side is wrong. You could say I'm wrong for saying that, but let's face it, guys. Neither side is wrong if you really think about it. They're right on the idea of the Equestria Games being worse if they showed us the Equestria Games. However, they're right in saying that if they're going to promote the Equestria Games so heavily, they should have given us the games in more ways than one. So there really is no who's right, who's wrong. It's more on the idea of your personal perception. So if you like Equestria Games, then good for you. If you hate Equestria Games, it's understandable. Just don't be going against each other on this aspect, okay? And like I said, I fully understand why people don't like this episode, and I understand why people like this episode. So don't try to say you're right or your argument is right or anything like that. Just, it's based on perception. This is one of those perception-based choices. There is no clear-cut winner, and that's just being honest. So guys, until next time, I'm Keen947, aka Wolfkeen. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this subject. Go ahead and leave a comment down below if you want to, discuss this kind of a topic down in the comment section below. And I will see you all for my next My Little Pony vlog. So until next time, guys, take care.